Now we're live. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this special broadcast from the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, Colombia. Today, we're going to be covering the most important information about absentee.
Hi, Julian. How are you?
Good, thank you. And also, Clarissa from the voting program. Clarissa, how are you? All right, so if you guys have any questions, please start typing them in the comment sections below. We will be answering those in a moment. So I want to start with a view of the information that we have for this afternoon. So I'm going to give the floor to Clarissa. Clarissa, please.
Hello, Colombia, and thank you for inviting the Federal Voting Assistance Program to share about the absentee voting process. Now, if you are a U.S. citizen living in Colombia during the 2020 election cycle, then you may be eligible to vote in this year's elections. The first thing you have to do is register to vote and request a ballot. You can do so by going to fvap.gov and filling out the federal postcard application. This form allows you to do several things. First, like I mentioned, it allows you to register, request a ballot, and update your contact information so your election office has all of the information needed. The second thing it allows you to do is it makes you eligible to use the federal write-in absentee ballot in the event that your official ballot does not arrive on time for you to send it back to your election office. And the third thing the federal postcard allows you to do is to request to receive your official ballot electronically. That means that your election office will send you your ballot by email if you request it by email. Now, the federal postcard application is available on fvap.gov. Print it, sign it, and send it to your election office. Many states accept this form by email or fax. Some states require it by mail. Please go to fvap.gov to find out your state-specific guidelines. Once your election office receives your FPCA, or federal postcard application, they will process it. If information is missing, they will contact you directly. Once your FPCA is processed by email or fax, if so, you can take a clear scan or a clear picture of your completed signed ballot and send it to your election office as an attachment. If your state requires your ballot by mail, please mail it as soon as possible via international mail, private courier, or the diplomatic pouch at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. If you do not receive your ballot and you are from a state that requires the ballot by mail, then we have a backup plan for you. You can go to fvap.gov and fill out the federal write-in absentee ballot. This is your backup ballot and serves just like an official ballot. Fill it out, write in your preferred candidates, and send that backup ballot to your election office immediately. And then, to find out the status of your ballot, contact your election office immediately.
All right, thank you for that information, Clarissa. Juan, please go ahead with more specific information about the embassy here in Bogota.
Awesome, thank you. So, as mentioned earlier, my name is Juan. I am a consular officer here with the United States Embassy in Bogota, and we are here to help you get your ballot back to the States. As my colleague Clarissa mentioned, ballot day was last Saturday, 45 days before the election. So most of you, if not the majority of you, should have received your ballot, or your ballot is on the way in some shape or form right now. As far as the U.S. Embassy is concerned, the fastest and easiest way to send your ballot back to the States is electronically. So if your state is one of the majority of states right now that offers electronic voting, whether by email, by fax, or sometimes even by mobile application, we strongly recommend that you do that. We don't recommend that you send your ballot through local Colombian mail. So if you must send a physical ballot, a professional courier may be one option. So a lot of them operate in Colombia, such as DHL, such as FedEx. And so it may cost a little bit of money, but it's another option to easily and quickly get your ballot back to the United States. The third option that Clarissa mentioned was diplomatic mail. And there are two ways that we can, the U.S. Embassy here in Bogota can help you get your ballot back to the United States. This is an example of a federal ballot envelope. This is easily downloadable online at fvap.gov. And once you have your ballot, you can drop this ballot off at the United States Embassy here in Bogota if you're physically located in Bogota and it's easy for you to get to us. Alternatively, you can send this ballot to us by mail in Bogota, to our address at the embassy, and we will send it to the United States for you through the diplomatic mail system. In order to do this, make sure that the envelope is correctly addressed to your local election official. Then you're going to take this and put it inside another envelope. It doesn't need to be this big. This is just what I happen to pick up. And address the outer envelope to the United States Embassy here in Bogota. Once we get the entire package, we'll open up the outer envelope. We'll take the ballot from inside of that, and we will drop your ballot into diplomatic mail to reach the United States. If you are using diplomatic mail to get your ballot to the United States, we are asking that all voters, all U.S. citizen voters, get your ballot to us, to the embassy by September 25th, which is the end of this week. It's coming very, very quickly, so please don't let your ballot sit on the coffee table and do it some other time. Please do it today and get your ballot to us today. And then lastly, very quickly for our U.S. citizens in Venezuela who may be watching, unfortunately, you can't come to the embassy in Bogota to drop this off. And so your best bet, again, if you are voting in a state that offers electronic voting, that's going to be the easiest and fastest way to vote from Venezuela, or a courier service as well. We understand that a courier service for your ballot straight from Venezuela to your election official in the United States is going to be faster and cheaper than trying to get it to us at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. So some options for our Venezuelan voters as well.
All right, thank you, Juan. One thing that we forgot to mention at the top is that although we are doing this in English, we will be taking questions in Spanish also, so please feel free to send it in either language. We will be addressing them. About what Juan just said, and I think we have a map of the embassy to have to give folks a better idea of where they can drop it. There's the map, there's the address, there's all the information you need to get there, and also to drop your ballot. So let's start with the questions. So Rafael Ramón Figueroa, Clarisa, ¿cómo hago para votar? ¿Cómo puedo hacer para votar? Vivo en Cartagena.
Buenas tardes, señor Figueroa. En primer lugar, no se puede votar en persona en la embajada porque esto para los estadounidenses que viven afuera del país es un poco diferente. Usted necesita de llenar su tarjeta federal postal en el sitio fvap.gov. Este formulario lo podrá usar para registrarse para votar y pedir su tarjetón electoral para las próximas elecciones. En cuanto usted llene este formulario por internet, por favor de imprimirlo y firmarlo y enviarlo a sus funcionarios electorales en su estado o su condado donde usted está votando. Este es el proceso, y en cuanto sus funcionarios electorales reciban su formulario, le enviarán su tarjetón electoral directamente a usted.
Gracias, Clarisa. Voy a repetir el comentario que hice hace un momento en inglés. Vamos a tomar también preguntas en español, como se acaban de dar cuenta, así que si no se sienten cómodos con el inglés, pueden enviarnos también las preguntas en español. Juan, Marta Barrera, I already sent online the request of ballots for me and my husband. I hope they answer us. Should I also request to the embassy?
So the embassy is absolutely here to help you find resources. You can always email us at our public email address, which is votebogota@state.gov. Again, that's votebogota@state.gov. That email inbox is monitored by a live person every single day. We try to get back to you guys to inquiries within a day or so. And like I said, that inbox is there for any questions that you might have. Clarissa, do you have more to say on whether this voter should contact a local election official?
Yes, you're right. So I would recommend that Ms. Barrera contact her election office to find out the status of her ballot. If she is from a state that requires the ballot by mail, then we recommend Mrs. Barrera to fill out a federal write-in absentee ballot at ff.gov as a backup ballot. If she is from a state that accepts the ballot by email or fax, for example, then she can wait a few more days to see if her ballot arrives in her inbox, in her spam folder, or if she requested it by mail, then maybe it will arrive in the next few days. But we encourage her to contact her election office, and she can find the phone number, the email address, and the mailing address of her election office at fbap.gov/search-offices.
Perfect. Juan, we just saw the step URL in the screen. Can you remind us why this is important for citizens to register?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. So STEP is our Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, and it is a program by the United States Department of State to receive information from the State Department about conditions where a U.S. citizen may be traveling. So when a U.S. citizen goes to that website, he or she can enter their contact information at the foreign country where they're currently traveling. So, for example, here in Colombia. And once the U.S. Department of State has that information, the local embassy here, the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, will send out notifications for important conditions in the country. So everything from demonstrations to natural disasters, or in this case, more importantly, voting information. So once we have your email with the STEP program, we will send you relevant deadlines, relevant information on how to vote from Colombia.
Thank you, Juan. Margalida Maria Clarissa writes us, I'm a U.S. citizen. I want to vote. When is the due date to send my ballot?
Each state has its own ballot return deadline. If your state requires the ballot by email or fax, then please check ff.gov to find out when that ballot return deadline is for you to email or fax your ballot back. If your state requires your ballot by mail, then we encourage you to send back your ballot immediately. That way, you can ensure that your vote arrives at your election offices on time before the ballot return deadline of your state. Go to ff.gov to find out all of the dates, the registration deadlines, the ballot request deadlines, and the ballot return deadlines.
And from the perspective here in the United States Embassy, if you are using diplomatic mail, just to reiterate, we want that ballot in the embassy, either dropped off or mailed physically and received by the embassy by September 25th. It feels like it's a little bit early, but we want to make absolutely sure that every single vote voted physically through the diplomatic mail in Colombia reaches the United States.
Well, speaking of that, Juan, Cristina, if I mail my absentee ballot from the U.S. Embassy here in Bogota, how long will it take to arrive? She says that she's a Florida voter.
Right. So that's a great question. As everybody knows, there's a pandemic going on. We are here at the U.S. Embassy. We're in very close contact with all of our colleagues at the diplomatic mail office in the embassy, and we're monitoring the status of diplomatic mail very closely. If you get us your voted ballot to the U.S. Embassy by September 25th, that's the date that we've established internally as one that's gives us ample time to get your ballot to the U.S.
Lou Fernandez Dom, Clarissa. I sent the form already requesting the absentee ballot about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't received any answer yet. What can I do? Because I would like to vote. What can we say to Lou?
Right, so election offices are not obligated to send you a confirmation if your FPCA was processed successfully. They will, however, contact you if information is missing. We recommend that you contact your election office directly to find out the status of your ballot. Find out if they've sent it to you or if they've processed your FPCA successfully. And again, if you requested your ballot, then and your FPCA was processed successfully, then you should be receiving your ballot as of Saturday, September 19th. Check your inbox or your spam folder if you requested your ballot by email. And if you requested your ballot by mail, then it might be arriving in the next few days. Obviously, one who has the file and who has the information about where your ballot is. So again, you can find all that contact information at fvap.gov/search-offices.
Clarissa, I'm going to stay with you for the next one. Ana Isabel Madrid. Hello, I'm registered to vote in the US, but I will not be there for the elections. Can I still vote from Colombia?
If you are still in the United States, we recommend that you contact your election office to find out if there is an option for early voting. And if you realize that you will be leaving and living in Colombia fairly soon and definitely during the election, then as soon as you arrive in Colombia, please fill out the federal postcard application to request your absentee ballot be sent to you. But again, contact your election office. You might be able to vote, early vote here in the United States before you leave for your new home overseas.
Sara Arango nos escribe, Clarissa, tengo 19 años. ¿Puedo votar a esta edad o debo esperar a tener 21?
Usted puede registrarse para votar. Cuando los ciudadanos que tienen 18 años pueden registrarse y necesita de empezar con el formulario que se llama la tarjeta federal postal, que está disponible en fvap.gov. Y si usted jamás ha vivido en Estados Unidos, o si, por ejemplo, usted nació en Colombia y jamás ha vivido en Estados Unidos, es posible que usted podría registrarse usando la última dirección de uno de sus padres de Estados Unidos. Y entonces, si usted va a fvap.gov y empieza el formulario, podría incluir toda la información necesaria para poder imprimir el formulario, firmarlo y enviarlo a su oficina de elecciones en el estado donde usted por última vez vivió en los Estados Unidos.
Juan, nos pregunta Giovanna Herrera Villalobos si se puede votar en la embajada.
Desafortunadamente no. No puede votar en la embajada antes de las elecciones o durante el día de elecciones, o sea, el 3 de noviembre. Si quiere votar, no puede depender de la embajada para un sitio donde puede votar. Es importante registrarse
y pedir su tarjetón electoral de ese condado o distrito. El caso es que si este señor jamás ha vivido en Estados Unidos, entonces solamente 39 estados les ofrecen a ciudadanos a quienes nunca han vivido en Estados Unidos la oportunidad de registrarse para votar. Entonces, si el señor tiene problemas con registrarse, podría comunicarse con nosotros, enviarnos un correo electrónico a vote fdap.gov y nosotros nos encargaremos de responderle con más información. Y sería bueno enviarnos información acerca de si usted jamás ha vivido en Estados Unidos o si usted nunca ha vivido en Estados Unidos y en cuál estado quiere registrarse. Esos datos nos ayudará a nosotros poder darle una respuesta más apropiada.
Clarissa, and speaking of the last known address in the U.S., John Villanueva is asking us, can I vote absentee if I am a U.S. citizen but have never resided in the United States?
Right. So, Señor Villanueva, 39 states and the District of Columbia extend voting rights to never resided citizens. In order to find out if you are eligible to vote, you may be able to use the last U.S. address of one of your parents or legal guardians in some states. That means that you will use your parents' last U.S. address as your own in order to register to vote and request a ballot. On ff.gov, we have a list of all states and territories that extend voting rights to never resided citizens. So please direct your attention there. And if you have other questions, please email us at vote@fbap.gov or contact your voting assistance officer at Embassy Bogotá.
Juan, nos piden que si podría repetir la última respuesta que dio sobre si se puede ir a votar a la embajada o no, que hubo como un problema con la señal en ese momento. Entonces, por favor.
Ok, pues la embajada desafortunadamente no es un sitio, no es un lugar donde puede votar físicamente. O sea, no puede llegar a la embajada el día de elecciones para votar. Para votar en Colombia es necesario registrarse en el sitio web fbap.gov para registrarse y recibir su tarjetón para enviar a los Estados Unidos.
Clarissa, nos escribe Alexia Muñoz, desde Colombia, ¿cómo puedo votar?
Hola, señora Muñoz. Es muy fácil registrarse y pedir su tarjetón electoral a través de el sitio fbap.gov. Por favor, de empezar el formulario que se llama la tarjeta federal postal. Este formulario le dará la oportunidad de registrarse para votar y pedir su tarjetón electoral para las próximas elecciones. Y lo único que requisita el formulario sería la última dirección donde usted vivió en Estados Unidos antes de moverse a Colombia y, claro, la dirección de su domicilio en Colombia. Y en la sección 5 le preguntarán cómo quiere usted recibir su tarjetón electoral. Y nosotros le recomendamos que elige por correo electrónico, porque este es el medio más rápido y seguro para que usted reciba su tarjetón electoral antes de las elecciones. En cuanto termine de llenar este en internet, por favor de imprimirlo, firmarlo y enviarlo a sus funcionarios electorales en su condado o estado donde se quiere registrar. Y muchos estados, quiero decir la mayoría de los estados, aceptan este formulario a través de correo electrónico o por fax, pero algunos también lo requisitan por correo postal. Entonces, revise las directrices de su estado, las directrices de envío de su estado en fbap.gov.
Chris Harris, Clarissa, is asking if all states have the same elections rules and deadlines for military and overseas voters.
Hi, Mr. Harris. Each state has its own state-specific guidelines. That means that if you are a uniformed service member, a military spouse, or a U.S. citizen living overseas, we recommend you check your state's guidelines and ballot return deadlines on ff.gov. And we are updating all our information as soon as we get the approvals from each state. So all of the information on ff.gov is up to date. So please go to your state's page on our website and find out what the specific deadlines and instructions are for you to request ballot and ultimately to send back your ballot before the election.
Juan, does the embassy have a recommended way of sending ballots?
Yes, we do. If your state is one of the majority of states in the union that allows for electronic voting, whether it's by email or by fax, or in some cases by mobile app, the American Citizen Services Unit of the United States Embassy strongly recommends that you take advantage of electronic options. It's the fastest and easiest way to get your ballot to the United States.
And are there any delays with the diplomatic mail due to?
So we are recommending that if you are using the diplomatic mail system, either dropping your ballot off at the U.S. Embassy or mailing your ballot to the U.S. Embassy for us to drop it into the diplomatic post office system for you. If you're using one of these two methods to get your ballots to the U.S., we should have your ballot by September 25th. That date is selected in consultation with our diplomatic post office colleagues to make sure that we all have ample time to get your ballot to the United States.
Clarisa, Susan Brito nos pregunta, seguí las instrucciones para solicitar el tarjetón, el ballot, pero aún no lo he recibido. ¿Qué debo hacer?
Si aún no ha recibido su tarjetón electoral, por favor de comunicarse con sus funcionarios electorales en su estado donde se ha registrado para votar. Y en cuanto se comunique con ellos, ellos le podrían decir si han enviado su tarjetón electoral. Y si usted es de un estado donde permiten que usted envíe su tarjetón electoral por correo electrónico o por fax, entonces le recomendamos que se espere unos cuantos días más para recibir su tarjetón electoral oficialmente de su estado. Pero si usted está registrada en un estado donde exigen el tarjetón electoral por correo postal, usted tiene la oportunidad de utilizar el tarjetón de resguardo. Ese está disponible en fbap.gov y básicamente usted podría incluir sus candidatos preferidos, escribirlos en el tarjetón que está en blanco y después imprimir ese tarjetón, firmarlo y enviarlo por correo postal o por cualquier otro medio a su oficina de electores o sus funcionarios electorales del estado donde usted, y le mandamos esto lo más posible.
Clarisa, I receive a response from my election official?
No, so election offices are not required to they received your ballot or that they have processed it successfully. We recommend that voters contact their election offices to find out the status of their FPCA or their ballot. And in some states, voters can use the links where they can check the status of their ballot online to find out if it's been processed. So it depends state by state, but ff.gov has those links where voters can check if their ballot has been counted prior to election day.
Is asking, may I vote by internet because of COVID?
Some states allow voters to vote or to send their ballot back by email or fax. And in a couple of states, they also accept the ballot online. But you must first use the federal postcard application in order to request your ballot. So you can get started on that form at ff.gov, fill it out, request to receive your ballot by email or online, because that's the fastest way for you to get your ballot. Print the form, sign it, and send it to your election office. And as soon as you get your ballot, please vote it and send it back to your election office. That way you know and you can rest assured that your vote has been counted.
Okay, the production is telling me if we can repeat the question and the answer, so yes, we will. Mateo Restrepo, Clarissa, may I vote by internet? I'm stuck because of COVID.
Right. In some states, voters can request to receive their ballot and return their ballot by email or fax. Some states, maybe a couple, also offer online options. A voter to be able to use those options, the voter must fill out the federal postcard application and in Section 5, request to receive their mail or online. As soon as the voter gets the ballot, then we encourage that voter to print the ballot, vote it, and send it back to the election office as soon as possible. Again, some states accept the ballot by email or fax, while others only accept it by mail. If your state only accepts your ballot by mail, that is your only option, and you must immediately mail your ballot as soon as possible or mail the backup ballot, the FWAB.
Sara Arango nos pregunta, Clarissa, ¿existe algún tipo de beneficio por votar?
El beneficio sería que usted logró participar en las elecciones estadounidenses y nosotros, claro, estamos aquí para ayudarle con cualquier pregunta que usted tenga sobre votar desde el extranjero. Y reconocemos que el proceso es un poco detallado, pero le recomendamos que empiece temprano para evitar problemas relacionados con el COVID-19. Por ejemplo, si usted necesita pedir su tarjetón electoral, puede utilizar la tarjeta federal postal disponible en fbap.gov y enviar ese formulario a sus funcionarios electorales para que ellos procesen el formulario y le envíen su boleta o su tarjetón electoral lo más pronto posible. Y entonces el beneficio sería, ¿verdad?, realizar la meta de votar desde el extranjero.
Ejercer su derecho al voto. Juan, Marta Barrera is writing, once I get the ballots, I have to send them to the embassy, right?
So, yes and no. It depends, ultimately. Your first stop is to check on fvap.gov to see whether you are voting in one of the majority of states that allows for electronic voting. If you are part of one of these states that allows for email or fax or internet voting, the U.S. Embassy strongly recommends that you submit your ballot by electronic means. If you must send a paper ballot, then you have two options. One is through a professional courier service, a company like DHL or FedEx will be able to get your ballot to the United States for you. It may cost you a little bit of money, but it's a way of reliably getting your ballot to the United States. The other option for physical ballots, if you must send a paper ballot, is through the United States diplomatic mail system. So I have a prop for you here. This is an envelope that is directly from the fvap.gov website. It's postage free. And if you are in Bogota, you can just drop a completed envelope just like this at the United States Embassy. We check the box frequently. Diplomatic mail goes out every week. And then this envelope will get through the diplomatic mail system and to your local election official. If you must send a paper ballot, but you're not in Bogota, you can also mail this guy to us. So you would take this voted ballot and the envelope, make sure it's addressed correctly to your local election official, and make sure it's sealed, and make sure, if you're not using this, have sufficient postage on it. In order to get this from outside of Bogota to the United States Embassy, put it into a second envelope. like I'm doing now. Once your ballot is into the second envelope, seal this and mail this packet to the United States Embassy in Bogota. We will open the outer envelope and take the ballot inside, and this is the one that will go into the diplomatic mail system into the United States to your local election official. If you are sending us a paper ballot, or if you're dropping off a paper ballot for us, please do this immediately. Do it this week, because we want to have all ballots off and out of Colombia, out in our diplomatic mail system by September 25th, which is the end of this week. It's coming up soon, so please, if you're sending a paper ballot, don't delay. Get it off of your mantle or your coffee table or out of your email inbox. Print it, fill it out, sign it, read all of the instructions, and get it to the U.S. Embassy today. But again, if your state is one of those that offers electronic options, that's what we recommend.
Diana Muñoz Clarissa is writing, in the part voting residence, do I have to fill up my current address in Colombia or my address in Miami?
In Section 2 of the Federal Postcard Application, you must provide a U.S. address. And for U.S. overseas citizens, this is usually the last address where they lived at in the U.S. before moving overseas. And the voter can continue to use this address even if he or she no longer lives there, no longer has any ties to this address, or even if this address is no longer recognized. And this address is only used for voting purposes. No voting materials will be sent to this address. All voting materials will be sent to the voter in Colombia. In Section 3, that is where the voter must provide an overseas address. It cannot be a P.O. box. It must be a physical address where the voter is currently residing overseas. This will ensure that the election office knows that this is in fact an overseas voter who is covered under the UOCAVA law.
Thank you, Clarissa. I think we have no more questions. So I would like for Juan and Clarissa to once again go over the most important information that we gave at the top, and also to remind folks the main points of contact related to absentee voting. So Clarissa, please.
Well, as everyone knows, tomorrow is National Voter Registration Day, and it's a special day that we celebrate in the United States to encourage voters to register to vote. And the way to do that for overseas citizens is to fill out the federal postcard application on ff.gov. The federal postcard application allows you to do many things. The first is that it allows you to register to vote and request a ballot. The second thing is that allows you to request the ballot to be sent to you electronically by email. And the third thing is that it allows you to become eligible to use the federal write-in absentee ballot as a backup ballot in the event your official ballot doesn't arrive on time for you to send it back to your election office. Once you fill out the FPCA online, print it, sign it, and send it to your election office. Almost all the states accept the FPCA by email or fax. Some states require it by mail, so check your state's guidelines at ff.gov. Your election office will receive this form, process it, and send you your ballot. And as soon as you get your ballot, make sure that you print it, sign it, vote it, and return it to your election office. Again, many states accept the ballot by email or fax, while other states only accept the ballot by mail. If you must return your ballot by mail, you have a few options. So you can send it via international mail, you can send it via private courier, which seems to be the fastest option for you in Colombia. And 3, you can also send it via diplomatic pouch at your nearest US embassy or consulate. And as soon as you send your ballot, you can check its status by contacting your election office directly, or by checking if your state offers a link where you can check the status of your ballot online. And next week, we are celebrating Absentee Voting Week. So please make sure that you use this time to find out what you have to do to get your ballot, make a plan, and find a way to get your ballot out to your election office as soon as possible.
Thank you, Clarissa. Juan, please.
Great. Clarissa and I have said it a dozen times. I'll say it one more. Make sure and check fvap.gov for your local state's requirements. They vary pretty dramatically between states, depending on what state you live in. So make sure you fill out your ballot correctly. Make sure and read every instruction once, twice, 3 times, and make sure you get your ballot in on time. Everyone here at the United States Embassy, and especially the American Citizen Services Unit, is here to help you out. We have a team here that's devoted to Colombian Americans here in Colombia who are voting from Colombia. If you have any questions whatsoever, we have the embassy website, which is co.usembassy.gov. There you will find more information on American Citizen Services, including how to vote and our suggestions and recommendations on how to go through this process. If you have specific questions that you can't find online through fvap.gov or through our website, we have an email inbox that is votebogota@state.gov. And that email is manned by a live person. We will answer the email as quickly as we can, and we will answer. If we can't get you an answer, we will direct you to a website where you can find the answer. And then lastly, our Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, STEP, can be found at step.state.gov. And there, any U.S. citizen residing in Colombia or abroad, for that matter, can register to receive notifications from the U.S. Department of State. This is important information that you would need to know living in Colombia or even being or traveling in Colombia. But we will be pushing out voting information through the STEP notification program. So if you're not already a registered STEP traveler, please do so today, because we will be sending out voting information as soon as once that information comes through the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program.
Thank you, Juan. What will be the advice for American citizens living in Venezuela?
So for Venezuela, it's basically, a lot of it's the same. Go to fvap.gov, make sure you know your local state's requirements. You should send in your registration and request your ballot, and print and sign and fill out and send back your ballot as soon as possible. The U.S. Embassy here still recommends that if you are voting in a state that offers electronic options, that is the fastest and easiest way to do so. Other than the electronic option, a professional courier such as DHL or FedEx is the easiest and fastest alternative to get your ballot back to the U.S. And unfortunately, there's not a very easy way for people living in Venezuela to get their voted ballots to the U.S. Embassy in Colombia. And so electronic voting and professional courier services are the way to go.
Excellent information. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Juan, from our consulate.
Thank you, guys, for hosting.
Thank you. No, sure. Thank you, Clarissa, from the Federal Voting Assistance Program. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting us. We were happy to be here.
And thank you, everybody who connected with us this afternoon. Remember, as a U.S. citizen overseas, you have the right to vote. For any doubts, you saw the URLs on the screen. Please go to them, contact us, and we'll help you in the process. That's it for us. Don't forget to follow us on social media so you don't miss events like this. Thank you very much again, and we'll see you next time.